Hello, everyone. We have a confirmation from Ukrainian military about the strike I talked about yesterday, the one that was about 500 miles into Russian territory in the Nizhny Novgorod region. So that is an oil refinery. There was a big boom over there. And then there was another strike um, on the Andriapol oil pumping station, which is part of Russia's export network that goes through the Baltic Sea of Ust-Luga. So there's now a big boom over there. We are getting these reports from the Belgorod region. As a reminder, Belgorod region actually has been under fire for quite some time because it's one of the border regions with Ukraine. So it's in Russia, but it's right there on the border. So that entire region, just like other neighbors over there, has been used as basically a giant military staging area from which troops, supplies, weapons, etc., are flooding into Ukraine, and from which shit's being launched into Ukraine, because you can launch projectiles and airplanes, of course, from Russia and then go bomb Ukrainian civilians. So now the governor of Belgorod region says that some civilians were killed during a drone attack by Ukraine. So I once again caution everybody before jumping all over this, saying, aha, see, Ukrainians kill civilians too. Okay. First of all, look at how many Ukrainian civilians were killed by Russia. And Russia denies targeting civilians, and we already know that's not true. Second, once again, it's just one statement. Usually when Ukraine provides its statements of casualties, it follows very quickly with the exact numbers, names, locations, photographs, satellite images, etc. Okay? So I would like to see what actually happened. And third, those regions should have been evacuated. Russian government should have evacuated border regions because they should have realized a long time ago they are going to be targeted because, thanks to Russian government, they've become valid military targets. So, food for thought. There is a problem with another corruption investigation on the Ukrainian side. This is an investigation of Rustem Umerov, Ukraine's defense minister. So you could probably just look it up separately, but basically he was being investigated by the anti-corruption watchdogs. There were concerns about his overreach of power and the issues with the defense procurement contracts. And as you might imagine, at the time of war, this is huge. This is a big problem. Understandably, the G7 backers are concerned about this, and I agree with them. You know, it is incomprehensible that a defense minister or his ministry would be engaged in any kind of behind-the-scenes shenanigans at the time of war when their own people are dying. But, yes, it can happen. So, there's probably going to be more about this. I'm not sure if he's going to keep his job. And once again, a note of caution to Zelensky is when appointing your cabinet and your ministry heads, please vet them well and appoint qualified people and not your friends from your TV days. Just saying. Not to be outdone, a former deputy defense minister, Timur Ivanov, in Russia, is in court for preliminary hearing on the charges of embezzlement and money laundering. That doesn't surprise me. Corruption has been an issue in the Russian government for a long time. I think they basically just pick one of their own and just throw them to the wolves now and then to pacify the public, to say, see, we are anti-corruption, we are fixing this. So that is happening. And of course, there's been another huge drone attack. 81 drones launched at the town of Sumy, hit an apartment building, killed 4 people. It goes back to my point that, Russia could have chosen to evacuate its border regions, but Ukraine can't evacuate all of Ukraine. And right now, literally nowhere in Ukraine is safe. And civilians are targeted no matter what Russia says. Monday was a Holocaust Remembrance Day. Not sure if anybody even remembers that anymore. I remember it definitely because one of my grandparents, my maternal grandmother, was a Holocaust survivor. And this gentleman, Roman Schwarzman, who was a child when he was rescued from Auschwitz, made an impassioned plea to German MPs, basically driving the point home that Putin is no different from Hitler. And he's right. I don't know why it's taking so long for it to sink in. I don't understand why people are not thinking about Putin that way. But as I mentioned before, you can go and look back and Putin's speech following the annexation of Crimea 11 years ago, almost 11 years, is nearly identical to Hitler's speech when he annexed Sudetenland. And all of his rhetoric ever since has been basically in that vein. It has to be recognized, it has to be acknowledged, and people who care about the spread of that type of rhetoric and that type of approach should put up a concerted effort to fight this. I know not everybody will, but I am frankly shocked that it's been 3 years since the full-scale invasion, and we don't have a united front yet. This is a big article in Kyiv Independent, again talking about Trump's stance on Ukraine. So what we know now. First of all, there was a concern when his inauguration speech made no mention of Ukraine, especially since this was one of his big campaign items, promising to end the war in 24 hours. In case nobody noticed, that is already not a fulfilled campaign promise. And of course, there were also concerns since he praised Putin so much during his first term in office. Again, one of the things that emerged, the common trait that emerged, that in every single interview, press conference, every time when he was questioned about Ukraine, he offered no specifics. He said maybe, seems likely, probably, possibly, we'll see, and so on and so forth. But so far, we have no clear strategy, no outline, nothing. We don't even have a concept of an idea. He keeps throwing platitudes like we can do it the hard way or the easy way. He's looking not to hurt Russia. He wants to maintain a very good relationship he's always had with Putin. But again, nothing specific. And that is a problem. You don't resolve world problems by being vague. I think crediting Trump with setting a psychological dynamic is a mistake. He's not. He's just saying something to say something. He's not that complicated or that smart. Now, there is a very important point here. Zelensky at one point said that negotiations with Putin were impossible, leaving the door open to negotiating with Russia under a different leadership. So, Putin immediately put it on its head and said, see, they won't negotiate. No, honey, we will negotiate. We just want you gone. So this continues. I say you pop over to Kyiv Independent, read the full article. There is a lot to unpack there. More to come.